Hi everyone, I am so excited to be bringing our third installment of going through my eyeshadow palettes. If you're new to this series, I basically have all my eyeshadow palettes behind me in these little cubby organizers. Where one is missing, that is where my palettes normally sit. And what I have been doing is basically just going through every single palette in my collection, creating a makeup look with it, or the ones that are in my current collection. I do have some to this side over here, hopefully you can see, that are either like discontinued or ones that are just kind of old that I just don't kind of have in my current collection. I really am trying to keep palettes in my current collection, ones that I think other people have, as well, so that I can help just myself to get more use out of my palettes, but for two, to possibly give you some inspiration for your palette collection. You will or probably notice in today's video, if you have watched any of my previous ones, I do not have as many palettes, and I will show you reasoning why in just a second. But before we get started talking through the palettes, I did want to talk through this look a little bit. I will have it already posted in a short. It is plain with the, which is a familiar palette. I'm going to tag the creator, not the creator of the palette. It is Batty Bean though, if you don't know. But I'm going to tag the creator whose idea I kind of got for this look, and something really interesting. And why I want to tag her too is that I think if you enjoy like maybe kind of a bit of like even my style, but just even like chatty, like I really have been enjoying her content. I'm very new to her content, and I think she might also kind of be new to the space. I really have been enjoying watching her content. She does a good mix of stuff and kind of just posts when she wants to. It's just really fun. I really just like her content. But what she did is, so she has this series where it's something like, do we need this palette or whatever, where she will look at a new eyeshadow palette. She has done, I believe, the newest release from Lethal, and then she did the Psilocybin palette, I think that's how you say it, from Blend Bunny. So she's done both those videos. So again, I will have her handle, and I'll try to like link it in the description as well to check out. But anyways, so what she was doing was, when she was trying to recreate one of the Lethal palettes, the newer ones, she grabbed this palette and she covered the reds. And I feel like silly, and like I hope this is not just me, but like that just became like a whole new palette, right? Like I love the reds, don't get me wrong, but this just became like a whole new palette, and I was like, okay, cute 9pan. So what I do with all of my eyeshadow palettes that I pulled for is I do a makeup bingo. So just going on a random number generator and then pulling out 5 shades. So that is what I did for this look. Just to be transparent, I do edit what the random number generator will pull for me based on if I feel like it will work for the look. So sometimes I will try like different things, and a lot of my more creative looks that a lot of people have loved is because of the random generator, and I really freaking love that. But I do still edit occasionally, so like just in case if you wanted to kind of try this idea, editing can make it a bit easier. So you're like, okay, I actually like this look, because sometimes you just get 3 of the same kind of colors and you're like, why even do that? But yeah, that is what I did for this look. Love it. So like I said, check out that short if you are curious how I created that. But let's go ahead and get started with the video. So palette up first. So I only have 2 palettes from Glaminatrix. So this one is the Tones of Turd palette. They have since come out with a, like you might say, additional one. It's not Tones of Turds, but it's something else, and it also is really pretty. But the reason I passed on that one, and I'm kind of excited to play with this palette, is I have struggled so hard to create looks with this. I really don't know why, but I usually feel like I only can create like 1 or 2 looks, and this is obviously a full-fledged palette. So I'm really excited to see what I can create with it. Glaminatrix formula is very nice. The shimmers are really pretty. I think what honestly probably trips me up maybe with this palette is a lot of the shades are duochrome. And so I kind of struggle with that, because I'll be thinking, okay, it's going to be green, and then it will turn pink or something. And yeah, so kind of it affects and changes the look that I'm going for sometimes. Sometimes it's great, but sometimes it's not. And that's just something with this palette that I really have struggled. Going along with that though, something I really have been loving to do, if you are again new to this kind of process, if this is your first time to my channel, I have been loving all shimmer palettes. I currently have, I think, 4 in my collection. And what I will do is that, let's say I pull this and I'm like, I'm just not either feeling the shimmers, or I want to just make the palette feel new or whatever, I want to pull some other shimmers, I will then pull from the shimmer palettes, or if you have singles or whatever, again, it really doesn't matter. It's just because I have them, that's why I'm using them. And I think that it really helps me, for one, to be excited to play with these palettes, but I think it's also a really good resource if you are struggling to use palettes that are already in your collection to create different looks. Like, I think it's just a really great idea, and it's also really great use because I know, like, somebody like myself, I used to really struggle using all shimmer palettes, and now I use them a lot more. Like, it's crazy. I used to think I always hated all shimmer palettes, and now I'm kind of like, no, if anything, they're an accessory. You know, they're an accessory to my other palettes that I have to create something extra magical and fun with them. And I really, really do appreciate that. As well as Glaminatrix, just to kind of, as I'm talking, Glaminatrix, I'm like dropping everything. Glaminatrix is indie, so I love supporting indie brands, but Glaminatrix is also very expensive. I think all said and done, I probably pay close to $80 for everything. So that is a bit of a expensive price tag if you're not 100% sure that you're gonna love what is in the palette. So next up we have the Mary Chrissy palette. I wish that it was easier to see, but yeah, whatever. Packaging is one thing. We're mainly looking at the color story. So this is their holiday palette they came out last year. If you're not familiar, the brand is Australian. So they're like here in the US, like when it's our winter, I believe it is their summer. So they kind of just did it based off of the vibes there. Really love it. Really think it is a really cute idea. I also struggled with this palette and creating looks, and that's why I'm kind of excited to do makeup bingos just to see what I can create, because I feel like I tend to want to do a lot of like 2-color looks with this palette, which is great, like if that's what you like to do, but like myself, I want to use like a bunch of shades, and I struggle because it does not always follow that vibe that I'm used to, that I think a lot of us are used to. So for example, this shade here, this blue, is really pretty, sparkly blue, and then this shade never shows up, but it's really freaking gorgeous. I have created several looks with it. It's kind of like it looks like a white shimmer, but it turns blue, right? And so what's hard though is I'm like, okay, what do I add with this palette? Like this shade even here is a shimmer, it probably looks like a matte, but it's like, what do I create? I kind of want a little more variety. I'm gonna try and create something with this. I'm definitely sure I will be able to create something with this. I have created multiple looks. I did actually, this middle row here, which is funny because these aren't normally my colors, but this middle row here feels very cohesive. So as I'm kind of looking at it separated like that, I definitely do see some looks. So we might see if I do a vibe like that. I'll just really curious to see what I'm able to create with that. But even with that, like with my thoughts of this palette and just Glaminatrix as a whole, do you ever have it where it's like, I don't want to sound like a hater, you know, and it really is not to be hateful. Like I love indie shadows just in general, but because Glaminatrix is expensive and so up there, if I'm not 100% sure that I love the color story, that's where I feel very struggle bus with it. I mean, to be honest, it's similar to Bella Beauty Bar, even though I tend to like their color stories a lot more, but they are also very expensive. $70, I believe, is like the minimum for most of their palettes. They do have that newer palette that is an all matte palette, which is so freaking tempting, which is $49, I believe. So gorgeous. I'm trying to restrain because as a color lover, I really want it, but I don't think I need it. I'm tempted to also maybe do something eventually with that, but honestly, I don't really know. Main reason why I say that is I would love to create a video with it, but like I already have a video idea for next week that I'm thinking of doing, and I kind of feel like the longer we go, the more it's just going to kind of move out of the cycle, and people may not want to like see that. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Like, if you're still kind of curious to like see my thoughts of said palette or whatever, let me know and I can definitely do that. I mean, regardless, I still might do it just even for myself, just to see. So yeah, let me know your thoughts of what you're thinking for that if you do want to see said video. Okay, next up, so everything else is going to be from Glamlite. I don't have my full Glamlite collection here, just because again, the cubby stations, I don't have it yet. I hope to one day if I am actually able to. I'm currently in the process. We're trying to move in the future. So if my next phase has a bit bigger room, or if I'm able just to organize things a bit differently to what I'm hoping I can, then I really do hope that I eventually can get to a system with brands like Glamlite, Gourmand Girls, etc., that I have a lot of palettes, One Bunny, a lot of palettes for the one brand. I would kind of love for them to have their own little like section. So that's what I'm hoping for, but we shall see. That is why I don't have all my Glamlite palettes here. There we go. So up first, you're gonna notice I have, and this is why too I don't have a bunch of palettes in today's video. This is the wine collection, or the, honestly, I don't even know, alcohol collection. Several years back, Glamlite had done like an alcohol collection. So I did buy all 4 palettes. I do want to try to keep them in their displays if I can, just because I think makeup is fun. And also, like, if something comes to the display, like, I don't want to just like hide it under my bed. Like, for so long I had this hiding under my bed, and then I haven't. I probably should just take the seal off one day, but like I haven't. So it kind of makes getting the palette out a little harder, but I kind of don't want to rip it, because then I think it would just be gone. And it's cool. Like, I know it's nothing super special, but I have it. I paid money for it. If I can keep it nice, I will. Okay, so up first is the wine palette. This is probably going to be my least favorite of this collection. It is a very purple, which I don't mind purple, as you can tell. I do kind of love purple. Purples, blurples, some different shades in here. You have like a different kind of, I don't know if it's like a goldy bronzy shade. We're really excited to see what I will be able to create with this. I have not played with this baby enough. And this might also be something as well, when I talked about earlier, that I can pull in some of my all shimmer palettes to help. Main reason as well is that Glamlite, I will say I love some of their eyeshadow formula. I think a lot of people have felt this way. I love some of their eyeshadow formula, like some of their shimmers. Their mattes are pretty always good in my opinion. It's the shimmers that tend to be kind of sucky sometimes. And not always. I haven't bought a palette from Glamlite in a while, so I don't fully know for sure. Main reason though is because, unfortunately, of the inconsistencies of the shimmers. I think, to me, I don't want to hate on them as a brand, but I think that they have more shown that they're more about coming out with stuff that is affordable, which is great. But as a makeup lover, I would rather have something that is nice, can still be fun and creative, but I don't need it to be that, like, let's say I have no clue, but maybe this palette is like $10 or $12, like such an incredible deal, but that will also then affect the quality, you know? Like, I think something that would have been kind of cool if they would have done, and I feel like I'm all for if brands do this, is let's say they had this plan over maybe the course of a year, I don't know, or something, or even 6 months, and every couple months they just come out with another one of these palettes, but they're really good. I think that would actually be something so cool, and I wish that Glamlite did that. I think they come out with a lot. I've not followed them for much. I think they've done like some Barbie stuff. They tend to just do a lot. And as a consumer, I find it, for one, extremely difficult to keep up with. I feel like I fall into that mindset that I need all of it, especially with their Halloween collections that they do. I think they lately have been doing, the past 2 years, 3 Halloween collections, which is ridiculous in my opinion. I don't want to be like, again, I'm trying not to be a hater, but I think it's yeah, I don't know. And, you know, positive though, and I will say this, is that the brand owner has definitely talked about how a lot of times those things will be included in like Black Friday sales and all of that. I love that she'll do that and make it so you can get the makeup affordably. But I don't like it in the fact of those of us, let's say you're trying to save for, like in my case, I'm trying to purchase a place in the future. It makes it so you have this collector's mentality, and I just don't like that. Again, she says she's not trying to do that. She says that she is trying to make it, you know, that everybody can get a little bit of a taste, but I think it's just a really difficult path. You know, I'm not a brand owner. I never really want to be, but I think it makes it difficult for me. But sorry, I need to like stop so much chatting. I mean, yes and no. I think my most recent video, though the views are still like coming out because this went up yesterday, but I do feel like some people are liking my chatty kind of style, so I guess it's not fully bad. But anyways, let's get back to the palette. So this is the Dirty Martini palette. So it is an all green palette. I actually really like this one. This, I have not played with it enough, unfortunately, but this has a lot of really nice shades. Probably my favorite from this series. It really is a gorgeous one, and honestly, I would be up for them relaunching this. I do think that most of the shimmers in here are actually quite freaking nice, and I would honestly would even be curious to mix this one in with the wine palette. I might have to do that into a little dual moment, just for funsies. I recently did, so again, in my last week's video, if you've not checked that out, check it out. I did a three palettes video for Summerween, and I used the Nomad Cosmetics Witch City Salem palette, and I did like a purple and green look, and I loved how that looked. So these two Chef's Kiss would work so well. Okay, next up, this is the palette I want to love. So we have the Margarita palette. So for one, with this palette, I will just start up by saying the cover is starting to lift a little bit, which is weird. I think it's just the glue. I hope it's still okay. As far as I know, the shades and everything are still okay, hopefully. I think I might actually, I must have spilled something on this because there's like dots on it. So maybe it's my fault. I don't know. But this is the Margarita palette. And this is just such a bright, very summertime palette that I struggle so hard anytime I want to use this palette because I'm like, and especially I will say this, as a lover of depth, this has no depth, right? They're all bright freaking colors. So it's so hard for me to create a look. I might have to pull another palette for this palette. I'm not sure. I'm going to still try to create something. It's definitely going to feel outside my comfort zone because this is definitely giving me like a Barbie kind of vibes, very bright. To be honest, you have this palette and you're thinking of getting their Barbie palette. Hello, I don't think you need it because this to me is very bright and Barbie-esque. I love it. And it has really good shimmers. Definitely, again, really good shimmers. Love that. It does seem like these palettes do have the really good shimmer formula that I think some of their other ones just started to not have. I think we'll be talking about one of the palettes today that kind of had that. That I was just like honestly a little disappointed with and just bummed by that. I was like, oh, I don't know. Whatever. Okay. Last from that little set, this is the Chocolate Martini palette. I'm going to be careful with this one. I had depotted this one completely and basically magnetized the palette. So yeah, I'm going to be very careful because this is really freaking fragile and dirty. So I don't know. I might try to play with this palette and re-press it. Like I can feel one of the shades trying to crumble. Just a word to the wise, unless you really feel good about it, don't depot your shades. Unfortunately, I will just say a lot of these brands, their formula is just really temperamental, I might say, and it can shatter so easily, which unfortunately is what happens with most of these shades. And upon trying to press them, sometimes it will work, and then sometimes it will do what it's done in this palette, which it worked, and then it kind of re-softened up, and it's just a big ol' mess. If they re-brought this palette out, I'd honestly be tempted to buy it. I'm not a big neutral person, but if I had to pick a neutral palette, this would be it. Like, I kind of like this one a lot. Like, of some of the ones that I have in my collection, are probably one of the only ones I have in my collection, but this one is really freaking nice. All right, we only have two more. Oh, we have three more. Sorry, three more left. So this was, I think, one of my first palettes from Glamlite. It is the Cake palette. So quite a while ago, they had done like these deals where I think it was like $50 and you got like a bunch of different makeup from them, which like low-key I kind of loved, and it was like a deal. And again, if you want a bunch of makeup, great. Like, you know, obviously you do whatever. I fell prey to it. So this is the Cake palette. I did love the packaging of this. It's like so freaking cute. Now I will say though, so color story again. Oh my god, I'm sorry, I keep hitting my camera. So story for this is extremely bright. And I will say some of the shimmers are nice, some are not so nice. Some are just some more standard shimmer. Now this is very early on into them when they started doing, well, at least when I had heard of them, so I might forgive. This is definitely one of the ones that I could definitely see moving out of my collection because it is older. I do have, I think, the Burger palette moved out of my collection, so I think that one came out before or after this one, so we'll see. I'm going to play with it still. The reason the Burger palette has moved out is it happened to a lot of us where the shades started to kind of seep. I think that they still perform well, so again, when we, oh my lord. So again, when we eventually get to that, after I've gone through all of my eyeshadow palettes, when we get to the archives, which is those other palettes over there, then we can go ahead and like talk about it or whatever, or like think about and decide if I want to create a look with it, because I'm like totally game for that. But that is why that is there. And like I said, this might go there eventually just because I do love it, but like I don't really want to reach for it, if I'm honest. 2 more left now. Okay, so I have the Scooby-Doo palette. This is the larger of the one. They do have 2 additional ones, which I do love a lot more, which will be in next time's video when we do this again. But this is the more recent of the Scooby-Doo. I think, again, I haven't followed. This is a huge palette. This one as well, and be very careful with. I think this one is more okay, but I did also depot this one and make the shades magnetic. So you will see one of the shades up here did break and get lost, unfortunately. What I think I did, if I'm correct, is I think when I had depotted them, you can check out if you're just like curious, some of my past depotting videos. But what I had done is basically removed this like whole structure here, removed all the shadows, put a piece of like a sheet of magneticness or whatever in there, and then put the pans back in. I did also get the little metal plates in case they did not stick, which unfortunately did happen sometimes. But yeah, but this one is actually really stable. Again, though, I will say I did like this shade here is probably unusable. Maybe same with this one. So unfortunately, deeper amounts in this palette I possibly won't be able to use. But the shimmers in this one was really good. So it's for, again, you know, if you really wanted to pot your palettes, do it, you know, do your own research. But just for myself personally, where I am in my makeup journey, I kind of regret it because I have ruined palettes. That's the biggest part that saddens me. I have ruined them, and I still want to keep them because, you know, I love them, and I hope that I can one day figure out how to fix them. And I do know that there are nicer repotting sets out there, and I have been really tempted to purchase some. Like I've seen a main one, but the biggest thing that always takes me away from them is that if I'm like depotting, I want to keep it in the same pan. Like ideally, I would love to just make palettes magnetic if I could. Now that is very difficult, and when I was still using ADH back in the day, I did do that with some of their more plastic palettes, the Norvina one. I actually had a friend as well. So if you check out that video, I think you'll see her video pop up as well. I like her version better. She kept the full tray system of the palette, but then made it magnetic, and it looked so good. Like so good. So much better than mine. So yeah, that is something I really love, and if we're able to do that in the future, that'd be great. But I would just mainly say, if more brands can make their palettes magnetic, that is also something great. You know, again, in my current makeup journey, that's not something I'm really doing, but I think that a lot of brands like DD Signature, I will say, for example, of the indie brands, that is, I'm gonna say, a little bit more affordable. They have magnetic palettes and are still able to keep it within that like $50-something range. Granted, I don't know how that's possible for them, but I do wish that that was something that a lot more brands, indie brands specifically, did for the consumers like myself, or even other people out there who just want that kind of vibe. I think it's just going to be smarter for them, and also hopefully brands are able to do that and bring the cost down, because like I said, some of the ones, like, again, I love the fact that Glaminatrix is magnetic. I like the fact that, I believe last time I checked, that they are labeled on the back. I think that is really nice. But I just want a bit more affordability. And I think, again, we were talking about earlier, a brand like Fantasy Cosmetica, I believe, has that affordability piece with the magnetic pans, very similar to DD Signature or Day Day Signature, I've also been hearing lately. And I don't know, I think it's just a lot better for consumers. And I think it is a price point that just feels great. So I really hope that more indie brands are able to get there and come down on their prices. And then lastly, from Glamlite, this is the Friday the 13th palette. I love the packaging. So it is something I will say that Glamlite does so freaking well. And I really do love, like, this looks kind of like an old VHS. So cool. I just, again, think if they did far less launches and really improve the formula, because even inside here is really nice. Packaging's great. They could have just done one palette. And, like, in my opinion, I'm like, I don't think you'll be forgotten. Like, I would hope not, but this is this gorgeous palette. Granted, sorry, my lighting, but granted, like, I understand that they have to pay the movie companies and stuff for using this, but I really just would love for them to refocus on the formula. So I've used this palette maybe once or twice. It honestly looks pretty freaking brand new. The shimmers in here are okay, but they're not my favorite. Far from my favorite, especially from Glamlite. This shade here is kind of your more matte with a little bit of sparkle. I'm almost always going to just treat these as a matte shade, same as the shade here. So it's just something kind of disappointing. And that is something too that I will say has also turned me off, which we will talk about, I'm sure, in next time's video when we do more palettes with Glamlite, is I remember one of their palettes, the shimmers looked so stunning. So stunning. The ones they were showing, it was like a super dark, sparkly color. And I was like, I cannot wait to get that. And then when I got it in my collection, or got it in my hands to play with, I felt so deceived because it wasn't that sparkly. It was one of those mattes with some shimmer, which sure can be a bit of a vibe sometimes, but in all of the experiences I've had, and I feel like a lot of us in the makeup space have had, is that shimmer just doesn't last because it's not a shimmer shade. It's a matte with sparkle. That though it looks pretty, but unfortunately the sparkle just fades. And it's just that disappointing. Again, like I said, it's just something I wish that brands would get away from, unless it is the purpose of, I've heard people talk about using those shades to blend in with shimmers, then great. If that is their purpose, then that is great, and they have their purpose, and make that purpose known. But if you want to sell it as a shimmer, as Glamlite did, disappointing and messed up, in my opinion. Alright, and that is going to be it for today's video. I'd love to know what you all think of this video. It might still honestly be somewhat long just because I did a lot of chatting, and I kind of really just love chatting, so I'd love to know what you all think. I think it's just a lot of fun. I love chatting with you all. I hope you're all having a great rest of your day. Please subscribe if you did enjoy this content. Want to join me here, leave me a like. I really do appreciate it. I would love to know if you have any of these in your collection, or are you going to be using any of these. Just anything you want to tell me about, whatever. I would love to hear it. I love chatting with you down in the comments. So I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you on my next one. Okay, bye.